This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Community Close-Up. I'm your host, Sharen Skelly, and our guests today are Michelle Lamont, the Fundraising and Community Development Coordinator, and Jessica St. Peter, the Public Education and Volunteer Coordinator from the South Bruce and Grey Women's House in, well, I guess we would say in the Kincardine area, but you have outreach in several areas in South Bruce and Grey. Is that right? Am
Yes.
I right? Yeah. So I guess we can start.
It's actually right up above my shoulder here. Women's House serving Bruce and Grey.
Yeah. So Michelle, we'll start with you being the fundraiser and the communications development coordinator. We're approaching International Women's Day, which is actually tomorrow, I guess. You're having an event. I guess it'll be the 9th, but when we air this show, it may be past, but we'll talk about it anyway, because International Women's Day is very important. And actually, the month of March, we celebrate women's history. So throughout the whole month, we're celebrating women and their accomplishments, their strengths, and the things that they have had the accomplishments they have had socially, economically, politically. So those are the things that we'll be talking about throughout this whole show. So can you tell me about the event that you're going to be hosting?
I can. It's actually on Friday, March the 10th, and we're holding it at the Kincardine Pavilion this year. So it's our first in-person event in a number of years. So that's kind of nice that we're all going to be gathering together. And these celebrations are made possible through our partnership with Business to Bruce and the County of Bruce Economic Development Corporation. So that's pretty amazing that we're able to get together, do this together. We have some amazing keynote speakers who are coming in to speak. We'll also be doing presenting our Women of Distinction Award. So that's pretty exciting. I'm not going to spill the beans and tell you who it is. So you'll have to come to the event and see it that way. So we also have a silent auction that's associated with the event. It's running now, right through until March the 12th. So it's an online virtual auction this year. We got into the habit of doing that and it worked out well. So we're just continuing to do it. So NPX is actually hosting that for us, and they're doing the whole online portion of it, but they're also displaying all of the items in their window in downtown Kincardine. So
how can you access that online auction?
Links can be found on our website, and that's whsbg.on.ca, and that mouthful of letters stands for Women's House Serving Bruce and Grey. So whsbg.on.ca, and there's a link to our event there. So and it'll take you in there and tell you all about the keynote speakers, and then also a link to the silent auction. So that's kind of a handy way to do it. And this year's theme for IWD is hashtag Embrace Equity. So we're really working towards that. I mean, if you think that we gather for Women's International Women's Day, not only so we can recognize the accomplishments of women who since the early 1900s started to work towards equal rights. And I'm sure you'll be talking about that over the next little while, since that's going to be your focus. And they started that in the early 1900s, but we also want to remind people of the strengths and that we have, and the things that we have accomplished over the last 100 and some odd years, and in building community and synergy, and helping to support others and continue to strive for equity among our diverse genders. So,
got a long way to go yet, don't we?
We do have a long way to go, but we're really, I don't know, it's kind of exciting, this whole idea of, and the focus this year, the theme, embrace equity. So, and I have an interesting.
Yeah, I think it's great that we recognize that we still need to do it, but that we're all together and we're going to do it, whether it, no matter what. We're not going to take it any. Well, we used to say that we're not going to take it anymore. We took it for a long time. We're not going to take it anymore. Yeah.
It's interesting. I heard a little example of, equality has kind of been our goal over the years, and versus focusing on equity. And I thought an interesting example of the difference between the two is equality is giving everyone the same pair of shoes, and equity is giving everyone a pair of shoes that fits them. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of an interesting kind of way for people to understand the difference. And, it helps us to break down those barriers and allow everyone the same access and in reaching their perfect outcome. So, and it's the fairest way to do things. So that's what our focus is this year on International Women's Day. And we'll be celebrating all of that on March the 10th. So I hope everybody clicks on our little link on our website. Again, Women's House Serving Bruce and Grace. So it's whsbg.on.ca. You can find those links to the silent auction and to learn more about our event and what we're focusing on, and to purchase tickets.
Do you have any other fundraisers coming up?
We will be having our next fundraising focus will be in May, where we do our Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event.
Oh, you're going to have it again this year.
Yeah, we will definitely be doing that. And we expanded last year and did it in Kincardine as well as in Saugeen Shores. And we're hoping to do that again this year. And we've got a few interesting things that Jessica and I are putting our heads together on, maybe some new and innovative plans that I think it'll really draw a lot of people out, and it's going to be fun. So
good.
Watch for those announcements.
Yeah, we will. And where can they find those announcements? Would you have it on your website?
We'll have it on our website, as well as our social media pages. So on our Facebook page, as well as Instagram, are the ones that we use the most. So watch for them there. Mm-hmm.
Great. Do you have anything else you want to share with us?
I think I've covered it all, unless you have any questions about it. I know Jessica has a lot of information to be able to tell you about Women's House in general and what she's been working on, and our need for volunteers and things too. Mm-hmm. So I'll let Jessica take over.
Well, one thing that I do have to ask you, people often ask if can they donate things?
Absolutely.
Can people donate? What do you take for donations at the Women's House Serving Bruce and Gray?
We have on our website, we have a wish list. So if they go on to the website and click on donations, and I should have said earlier, when they go onto the website to find out about our event, there's a section called news and events. So that's where they'll click to get that link. But as far as donations are concerned, if they click on that, it'll tell them a lot of different ways that they can donate. They can donate through just a regular donation that they may want to make a monetary donation. They can assign themselves to a monthly donation. And we really appreciate those monthly donations because it gives us kind of a long-term look into the future that we know we're going to have that support. And even so much as, a small amount, we have people who are donating $5 and $10, but it adds up.
That's right.
Basis.
That's right.
So that's really nice. And I mean, whatever your budget can afford, if you're able to do it, we really appreciate it. So those are for the monetary ones. As far as a physical donation, we have a wish list on our website, and we try to keep those updated as far as what our needs are concerned for if somebody wanted to donate something in general.
Well, that's good to know. So people can donate as you say, go to the website and it'll give you directions on how to donate. Now, can people that don't like to do it technologically, can they write a check?
Absolutely. Yeah. We take any form of money.
Hashtag whatever. We'll take whatever.
And I mean,
their piggy bank.
They can feel free to email me too, or call me. My phone number here at the office is 519-396-9814, extension 225. And they can email me Lamont, and that's LAMONT, at whsbg.on.ca. So that mouthful of letters again.
And if people forget, they can call 211 and ask, and they can direct them to you.
And they'll connect us. Yeah. So absolutely. Any form of donation is appreciated. The only thing we do not accept on a regular basis is clothing. Sometimes people want to do that, but we have, excuse me, we have an arrangement with a local donation site, and they help us.
Yes, I can imagine it would be a storage issue and with all kinds of things, it creates a problem. So just, we
have limited storage. So that's
like, where would you put it? Just like here at Safe and Sound, sometimes they get overwhelmed and there's small space. They don't have space to put it. They call out when they need it. So, and you have a podcast and a newsletter. So you've got all kinds of information on your website. So you can keep up to date with what's happening at the Women's House serving Bruce and Gray.
We don't have a podcast, but we do have a newsletter that we send
on there. Maybe it's a podcast of someone else's that you
might have been something that we shared on there. Yes.
Yeah. It said podcast on there. I didn't click on it, so I just thought you had your own podcast.
We are working toward. Yeah, we are working towards one, an education-based one to support survivors with different techniques and just raise awareness and education. Yes. But it's not live yet. Yes.
Okay, it's not live yet. Okay, so that's great information from Michelle. So now we'll click over to Jessica. And Jessica, you've got your responsibilities are quite widespread: public education, you're a volunteer coordinator. So you're responsible for recruiting volunteers and educating them on what their roles will be at, you've got second stage housing, transitional support, and all that. Do the volunteers work in all of the areas or just in the shelter?
So it depends what the volunteers' area of interest is. So Women's House Serving Bruce and Gray is our community-based, gender-based violence prevention and support organization, with our emergency shelter being located in Kincardine. And then we have second stage in Saugeen, Kincardine, and Wyerton. And then we provide transitional support for women and children who may have stayed in the emergency shelter and are looking for housing when safety is no longer a prominent concern. And then as well, we have our outreach programs, which provide individual and group counseling ongoing and support, as well as advocacy and accompaniment, depending on what the needs are. So navigating complex systems. And so Michelle was talking about our fundraising and community relations piece, but volunteers, it's really what is their area of interest and what's their need. So given the vast area of Gray and Bruce, we're always looking for volunteer drivers who are able to support with assisting women and children traveling throughout the region. We're looking for volunteers who can help with our different events, helping with maintenance, supporting the kind of different functions. And usually it's, what's the area of interest or what are the skills that volunteer has to offer and wants to contribute that will, be a mutually beneficial arrangement. And so, we're ongoing recruitment of volunteers, looking for people in various areas throughout Gray and Bruce. And then, so there's an onboarding process in terms of what we require just to make sure for the safety and confidentiality of the people we support. And then just looking at getting folks involved, making sure that they feel fulfilled. A lot of people are drawn to do this work for various reasons.
Right, right. Do you have a lot of men doing volunteer work in your
Yes.
organization?
Yeah. So we, appreciate volunteers of all genders. It would just, the different kind of roles and responsibilities might vary based on direct service or interactions with women based on their comfort.
Right.
But we do have, right now, there's been a lot of great work happening at our shelter, and we're so thankful of our maintenance volunteers who go above and beyond to, put that work together, and volunteers who support with organizing things and making sure that the shelter really feels like a home for folks. So that's great. And some of our most, repeat volunteers are men who support with driving. They're like, oh, I like to drive the area, or they live maybe in Kincardine and they have stores in Owen Sound that they want to visit, while they're supporting with driving. So that's always appreciated. And it's always nice to have male champions in our community, kind of role model and be positive. Positive relations for women who may have had harmful experiences with men.
Yes, sort of to prove that they can have, yes, as you say, positive relationships, not necessarily relationships, but encounters with men. Yes. So you have all these programs, but you also mentioned that there is some training coming up for men in the community. Or is that
we've already started it. So just like Michelle was talking about the importance of International Women's Day on March 8th, right? And, the unfortunate part is that it's one day, and but that day is really key in celebrating the achievements and successes of women. But it's also a day where globally, so it's been recognized, I think, since 1911, and about raising awareness and calls to action. So, how do we continue to work towards gender equality? And so the theme that Michelle mentioned around #EmbraceEquity is really key, because we're not there. We're not at a place of equality, right? We can't say that we've achieved equality when we know that 50% of women will experience some form of sexual or physical violence in their life. We haven't achieved equality when you think about 20% of single parents, out of that 20%, 8 out of 10 are women, and 20% of them are raising children under the poverty line. And what does that mean, right? What does it mean in terms of access to childcare, access to education, and how that isn't, like Michelle was saying, there may be a shoe, but that shoe doesn't fit, right? You're not providing the same kind of support and place for someone to have what people will say, oh, well, everyone has equal opportunity. Well, equal opportunity doesn't look the same if you're not at the same place. So, it's also a day where it's a call to action to recognize that, there's still so much work to be done. And when you think about the fact that less than 8% of women hold the top paying jobs in Canada, why is that? Because it's darn well not because they're not qualified, right? Yeah. So what can we do and what needs to happen? So, the event that Michelle was talking about is really incredible, because these are local women. These are local women who are breaking those glass ceilings, who are supporting each other and networking to really empower that change. And the male allyship program that you were talking about was a training that Women's House brought in response to men who were interested in being engaged in ending gender-based violence. And so it was an 8-week training where right now we have 2 weeks left. So that takes place on Wednesday evenings. And it is a group of men who have an interest in being involved in this work, want to sit and have those conversations where they reflect on their own power and privilege. They reflect on how they can encourage and empower women in their lives. And also what can they do beyond that? So what does allyship look like? And those men don't identify as allies because that's not an identity they can give themselves, right? Their allyship is really about their ongoing work. So our hope is that after the 8 weeks, that in connection with these men, we can look at doing similar training on behalf of Women's House. So right now, the training is in partnership with the Male Allies program through the Sexual Assault Support Center of Waterloo Region. And the great thing was that it was an initial space where it was facilitated for men by men.
So this training that they were having, is it just your organization that was doing it? Is it a pilot project? How is this?
Yeah, so male allyships, there's a variety of different male allyship programs throughout the province, but the Sexual Assault Support Center of Waterloo Region has a specific program called the Male Allies Program, which focuses on engaging men and boys. And they received a grant to do provincial outreach to support other feminist-led organizations who were looking to engage men. So in partnership, they have delivered the first training so that Women's House can continue to do that work and hopefully provide a space and opportunity for men who want to engage in this work further.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting as you're talking. It really shows how important it is as mothers of sons to begin teaching them as young boys as how important it is to be an ally. You know, we can start educating them and raising them as allies. You know, it's important to do that, and hopefully they will bring that into their adult life.
Mm-hmm. And we see that, right? That's one of the incredible things about working with this group of men is being able to collaborate with men when I'm doing public education work. So when I'm working with youth or I'm working with younger folks, that quite often they don't see themselves reflected in me as a woman, but to be able to facilitate with a man who can address, like, these are ways that I support women in my life. These are the ways that I encourage them. This is how I show respect. This is how I create safety. You know, even things that we talk about in the Male Allies training are those little tangible things that, the difference, and Michelle often does this in her workshops, the difference between what a man thinks when he goes out at night versus what a woman thinks when she goes out at night to protect herself. And so something as simple as men being aware of that, right? It doesn't mean that you're a man who's going to cause harm, but you're aware that a woman isn't sure. And so if you're walking down the street, you just cross the street and you walk on the other side, right? They were talking about how that was something that, it's something little, and often, it shows that sense of safety or respect, and also around bystander intervention for them to be able to have those hard conversations with their buddies or to be able to call in their friends around comments that are made that are degrading to women. And for many, it's, as a starting point, instead of, ideally we get to the place where around gender equality, where it's about respecting all folks, no matter how they identify. But for a lot of people, it's like, I don't want to do that because it could be my daughter, or I don't want to do that because it could be my wife. And so reminding, okay, are you comfortable? Do you feel like the way you're talking about women is respectful? Would you be okay if someone was saying that about a loved one in your life? And how can you change your language? So it's just nice to have men who want to do that work, who want to think of, how can I support? How are the conversations that I have in my workplace, maybe making it uncomfortable for women, or how can I change that dynamic so that it is a welcoming space that's empowering?
Mm-hmm. Now, this is the first time you've done this program?
This is the first time it's run, yes.
Yeah, in your agency?
Yes.
Do they have any sort of stats or any information about the outcomes, because it's been run before? Do they have any information about changes or results of the outcomes of men or feedback from men that have taken this program?
Well, I don't know specifically So I did work
Not
there.
from yours, but.
Oh,
but
no, I did work previously with the program.
Oh, okay.
So, like the testimonials that come from it are really that men will initially start because they're interested, or they feel, they see this injustice happening. Some of them are because they grew up in domestic violence families and they want to do something different. Maybe their partner has experienced some form of gender-based violence and they became more aware of the issue and wanted to be part of the solution. And so they go through these 8 weeks and they really start to kind of unpack things. They have conversations with other men that they might not feel comfortable having those same conversations with the men in their lives, but it gives them tools that they then apply. So some of the testimonials we heard was around how it changed the way they interacted with men in their lives, how they approached women, their comfort level with when somebody disclosed. So if someone in their family talked about having experienced violence, typically there's that, these gender norms for men where it's, I need to protect. And quite often it's responding to that anger with violence, right? And realizing that violence doesn't solve violence. It typically escalates it and then causes more concern and issues for the person who's trying to be supportive. So being able to challenge those gender norms and being able to normalize emotional responses so that it becomes a safe place to unpack those things. And so we see in those testimonials of the program, men being more involved in their communities or feeling more comfortable to have conversations with their children and their partners and their family members. And really see
it's a lot of positive outcomes from it.
Yeah.
So you'll be running it. I'm assuming you'd be running it again.
Yes, that's our hope, is to run it at least biannually.
Oh, good. So where would people find information about this?
Yeah, so they would, and we hope that anyone who's interested around supporting Women's House or ending gender-based violence would follow us on their kind of social media platform of choice, because that's, as well, when Michelle was talking about needs, if there are current needs, or if a woman is transitioning out of the shelter and there are larger items that we can't store, that's when we do those call outs. And
then just go to the website.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here on Community Close. Now, half hour goes along really fast, and we'll have you both back again in a couple of months, probably, to tell us about things that are going to be happening in the fall. Join us again here on Community Close-Up, and remember, it's your community, so take part. If you know someone that needs help from the Women's House serving Southern Grey Bruce, I can't remember, call 211 because they get information there. And join us again here on Rogers TV. Bye for now.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Justice. And I'm Nia. And we believe dreams fuel revolutions. That's why we're engaging with Canadian icons and the causes they support.
Join us for these inspiring conversations and find out how you can be revolutionary.
You've got the magic in you.
Sundays.
We're celebrating 21 years of making dreams come true.
City TV has the all-new season of American Idol.